DTechNation, where did that name come from?
So it's actually a college nickname. I was always known as the guy who would go around and fix everyone's technology. I've always been a technophile my whole life. I always got the new technology, new gear, always kind of fascinated me. And so I got a reputation around campus for really helped out with the sororities of setting up really good internet for them and fixing their Wi-Fi because they didn't know how it worked. And my name it's Devin Taylor, and basically they went for D-Tech, kind of a D-Train or a D-Tank kind of spin-off kind of thing.
Okay.
But it stuck. And then a couple weeks later, I was sitting in a class with my good friend, and he was like, "You got to get on Twitter, man." This is back in, 2008. I'm like, "What name should I do?" And then he was like, "How about DTechNation?" And it just kind of stuck from there.
Ah, sweet.
So what you're trying to say is it's not a family name.
No, my name is not. My last name is not Tech or Nation.
Okay. Just want to make sure, because when we go out and Andy introduces me to people, I have to say it's a family name. So I just want to make sure that we're
what the awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just Dave the Awesome. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. Like, I think that's cool that you're able to actually secure that nickname on Twitter for one. But you got the name everywhere, right? You're on Twitch, and do you do more on Twitter? Are you more on Twitter, or do you do a lot more on Twitch?
So, I started off making video game remixes, of famous video game songs. And then I released, I have 5 albums out, and, it's under D-Tech. There's D-Tech 1, 2, etc. And then DTechNation is like kind of a compilation album. And so it kind of started there as far as an online presence goes. Got a pretty decent following. I have probably close to around like 200,000 listens a month through Spotify and various other music stores and streaming sites.
Yeah, I saw you were on iTunes. They're all on iTunes.
Yeah.
They're on they're on my Apple Music. So I saw
Spotify is still the biggest driver as far as for me. But you know what? I've known in some video game spheres for the music side of it, not on a personal level, but if someone recognizes, either my name or the music that's being played, they're like, oh, I for example, I think Screw Attack used to have a gaming convention down in Texas before they were bought by Rooster Teeth, and my music was essentially the music for the event. So when all these people would line up, Matt Pat was there, JonTron, the voice cast of Dragon Ball Z. So people who they don't even know who I am, but they're listening to my music, which I thought was pretty cool. I also stream. I've been streaming on and off periodically since around 2014. It started off, just in a bedroom, and it's kind of evolved to a point now where when I stream with my friends, we have a pretty nice little group of people that are kind of dedicated fans. I'm a tinkerer. I've always been more interested in the setup than the actual process of using it. It's the same way when it comes to, video games or TVs or any kind of equipment. I love planning out the setup, making sure everything's hooked up as efficiently as possible, and then sometimes they'll get lost in that and wind up spending more time tinkering than actually using the devices.
Yeah, the content was very different when he was doing it from the bedroom. I just want to point that out. Very different content.
Yeah, that was post-college Devin, still living at home. So that was a different era of my life.
So how did you get into the game music? What drew you to that?
As a kid, I was kind of strange because people would be listening to pop music, and I still did too. But I'd be the one going into Sam Goody, if you remember. Sam Goody.
Oh yeah.
And I would get a John Williams movie score, or I would get NFL Films music, or they would have CDs of Fox NFL Sunday, the album. And I really was drawn to very strong melodies that that stick in your head long after you hear them. As you're walking, around, you start humming it in your head and you can't get it out just because of how, memorable they are. You can sing a couple notes of any, major movie score from John Williams, you'll know, oh, that's Jurassic Park, or, oh, that's Harry Potter, or that's Star Wars. So I've always been drawn to these strong melodies and themes, and video games are awesome because in the early days of video games, there was a lot of hardware limitations, and so they had to kind of work within the framework of the system. So in order for them to actually make these bloops and bleeps sound good, it took a lot of crafty sound engineering to work within that limited framework. And it was really interesting because the results are really memorable, simple melodies that loop. And if you have a memorable, simple melody that loops, it gets stuck in your head. And so I've always loved video game music. I've always thought it was super memorable, and I've always kind of wanted to put my spin on them.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I remember, like, I'm a big Nintendo guy since, like, back in the day. Like, I think I started off with, like, Atari, and then I got into Nintendo right away. And then I kind of stayed on that Nintendo path, growing up. But I think, like, everybody remembers, like, I saw you had a lot of Mario stuff.
Oh, yeah. And I would say a good majority of my stuff is, Nintendo oriented.
Yeah, I was listening to a little bit of that today, and like brought back some memories. Like, you can always point out like a Mario track, and like that really sticks with you. And I don't know, do you create have you created any like ringtone snippets at all or anything like that? Like because I've actually downloaded some like the classic Mario coin, for like
the sound effects.
Yeah, like for when you get a text, or you have the underground theme as a ringtone.
It's interesting because it becomes really murky, because in terms of copywriting, sound effects in general are actually copyrightable as well. Okay. So in order to really use them in fair use, if you're doing any kind of sound effect, you'd have to put your own spin on it. You attenuate it, change it, kind of like if you're doing anything with parody or fair use, you need to kind of modify it slightly. Sure. If you're using, but then at the same time in the music world, sampling to a certain extent is allowed. So that line becomes kind of gray. A lot of my remixes are, I call it either upscaling or downscaling. I can take a song that was very bloop and bleep and make it more orchestrated, or I can take a song that was more orchestrated and kind of downscale that back to, more 8-bit chiptune sound. The idea is to try to keep the spirit of the song while also putting your own flair. So at that point they become covers, and, they're not considered, the actual work being replicated. So it becomes definitely it's an interesting sea to traverse.
Nice. What so what was your console back in the day? Like, what was your like first console?
So I was born in 1990, essentially like right in the middle of Nintendo mania, like right at the cusp of the transition between Nintendo and Super Nintendo. Yeah. And my dad was pretty crafty because we didn't have the internet back then. And in his mind, he could go to a Funkoland and he could pick up a bunch of games for the original Nintendo for very cheap because the new Super Nintendo is already out. Yep. And so he comes home the hero because he brought home, 3 or 4 games. It may have cost him, $5 a pop. But to us, he was, oh my God, we have 3 new games to play. This is crazy. So I did start off with an original Nintendo.
Okay.
And I kind of worked my way up. My friends had a Super Nintendo at their house. I eventually got a Sega Genesis, and then the PlayStation and N64 era. Kind of worked my way up. I had friends who had the Dreamcasts. I never owned a Dreamcast. It's one of the systems that I really liked. I wish it had a longer life because it was a lot of fun to play that one. Then you get into PS2 and Xbox 360, and I start getting into the age where now I'm saving up money and I'm buying my own systems. And I will say the thing I miss the most about those days is the old school midnight launches. You ever been to a midnight launch for those?
No, I haven't gone to a midnight launch for a game, but I did go to midnight launch for like when a new Harry Potter book came out one time. Mm-hmm. And wow, they're people are coming from all 4 corners to those things, man.
Oh yeah, it's a madhouse. Actually, I had really great experiences with Dave actually at some of these midnight launches. Halo 3 was one that I remember pretty vividly. But these were great events where the stores would have budgets and they'd have snacks and some of the games set up so you can try them out early, and trivia contests, and it was kind of a whole event.
Are people in costume or no?
I mean, it depends on the launch and depends how cold it is outside and how dedicated they are. 'Cause a lot of the big games would come out in the wintertime. But yeah, for sure, there's definitely cosplayers.
Yeah, sometimes not the ones you'd expect. I remember we did a Beatles Rock Band midnight launch, and what was cool about that one is they had the instruments where like they had the play instruments look like they're real instruments and stuff like that. We're like, cool. And then some guys showed up in like some small ties and stuff, and I'm like, well, you guys are taking it to a new level. Oh, okay, yeah, that's not quite what I was going to do, but hey, man, commitment.
So, did you get into the GameCube at all?
Oh, for sure. I would say I was primarily a Nintendo kid. Yeah. Like I would have other systems. I would go to friends' houses and play other systems. But like N64, all the classics like Ocarina of Time and Mario 64, and then GameCube. And you have your Wind Waker. And I mean, there's so many titles for the GameCube, and that's really what's going crazy right now in popularity. Like I have a sealed copy of Smash Brothers Melee, which is like one of the on the shelf like items that are like, oh, don't open that, don't touch that, don't even look at it. But a lot of fond memories with the GameCube. It was a compact little system. It was more powerful than the PS2 and smaller until they came out with the PS2 Slim. But going back to those midnight launches, there's one day I realized that they were done, and it was kind of digital distribution was kind of taking off. And I think it was for a Wii U game, I believe. Mm-hmm. I forget which one, but I remember I arrived at the store, and we live in the Central Time Zone, so I arrived in the store, and I got there at midnight, and they were about to close up. And I'm like, "What the heck?" And he's like, "Oh, well, it's a digital store now, so it goes on sale nationwide at 11 o'clock because that's when New York, hits midnight." So he's like, "Yeah, we've been open for an hour," and I'm like, "Oh, that's weird. It's like midnight launches are dead." And now everyone orders their systems on Amazon and Best Buy if they can get one. And then it's just waiting for the courier to drop it off at your front door. So those days are gone.
Yeah. Occasionally, around here, you'll still see like a GameStop here or there, but even those are going away too. It's hard to find a good game store. I recently found one though in Janesville that I want to check out. They have like some used games and stuff, but you basically pay one price and go in, and they have a whole back room of actual arcade games that you don't need tokens or quarters. You just pay a fee to play any game you want. And, but they still have like a front room of like, you can buy old games and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
I think that's kind of one of the ways that these, mom and pop game stores are going to survive. 'Cause GameStop and other brick and mortars, you'll still have your Best Buys that'll sell games along with other things, but these specialty stores for games, they're becoming less and less relevant in the era of digital downloads and Amazon. Yeah. So these mom and pop stores, they try to draw it now as a community spot. So you go there, you hang out, you can meet up with like-minded people. There'll be positions in the back, with arcade games, or they'll have CRT set up with some old, game systems for you to try out. And it kind of becomes this hangout spot. So that's kind of how they're trying to survive. But it is kind of sad, because, the secondhand market for retro games is booming, but, it's mostly done through eBay. And, you go to any of these like conventions or trade shows, and they're all, usually wildly overpriced.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to think. I'm thinking, did I get into Wii? I didn't do Wii U. I had the Wii. I moved into Wii, and then I still haven't got. I kind of want a Switch Lite. For some reason, I want the Switch Lite. I don't want to jump into full Switch. So
you're like most people. You had a Wii. You did not have a Wii U. That is the majority of people was down that same road. So. But at the same time, the Switch now, it's been out since 2017. And the Switch Lite came out a couple years later. I know Dave has a Switch Lite, and it is a convenient little system. I know now they have things like the Steam Deck and other handhelds that are kind of pushing the market in a slightly different direction. But the Switch in overall, it's running like Android hardware from 2014 or 2013, even like a Tegra X1 chip, and it's long overdue for an upgrade. I kind of have a feeling that Switch OLED that came out last year, which has a bigger and much nicer screen. I have a feeling they had more aspirations for that, but then the pandemic hit, and then they were like, okay, we have a ton of these chips. It's hard to, chip shortage. It's hard to, for us to manufacture this new chip. And so they kind of put that on hold. So time will tell, when the next Switch comes out. But if there's a Switch Lite too, I think you're far enough into the waiting game now where
I need to hold out for the new.
Exactly. It's going to be backwards compatible. At least they better make it backwards compatible. So you'll be able to basically have the entire library that you would have with a Switch Lite, but have it for another 5 years, without having to upgrade anything.
Yeah, I heard you mentioned Steam. I've played a few games. I'm more of a Mac guy, but I've played a couple of lightweight Steam games on Mac, which has been pretty fun. But are you a big PC gamer? Are you like custom building your own PC, or you doing that kind of stuff, or no?
So I do custom build my PC. I built a PC about 2 years ago. It's got a RTX 3090, a Ryzen 5950X CPU, 64 gigs of RAM. So it cruises. I've always built my own PCs. It's a lot, unless you're getting a laptop, then obviously you're going to most likely get a pre-config. But it's a lot of fun. You get to customize it. A lot of times you save your money on it. As far as gaming on PC, it's an interesting relationship because I've always gamed on PC, but I would say I was primarily a console gamer. Yeah. But that being said, now in the recent years, with Game Pass and with Microsoft's initiatives in general, having things launched day and date with PC and with console, it's kind of become a pick your poison. So there's been situations where, I have an Xbox, I have a PC, they're both able to be plugged into my TV. So, and you can use a controller for both of them, or you can use mouse and keyboard on PC. So you actually have more options. And in many cases, it works better, and you can get better frame rate and better quality graphics on the PC version. So I find myself, bouncing between the two. I'll usually use a console out of convenience. But Steam and all the initiatives they've done now with SteamOS when it comes to the Steam Deck has made it so streamlined that the PC experience is more and more like the console experience than it's ever been before.
Right, and the other part to it too is, a lot of these games are cross-play now. So in years past, it's like you had a Nintendo, I've got a Sega. Sorry, go F off. I've got the better system. But now, when we're playing Overwatch, I'll play from my PC. Some of the guys will play from their Xboxes. One will play from his PS5. Like everyone will move around and play on
someone
consoles.
Plays on their Switch. Yeah, it's crazy because that seemed unfathomable only a couple short years ago. I think South Park had that whole console wars episode where the friend group had to decide which console they were going to go with because that would be the one they could play with all their friends on. I remember in the 360 and the PS3 days, it was like, hey, we're all on Call of Duty. It's like, well, I have a PS3. So everyone's on Xbox 360. So, okay, well, I got to get this console. Yeah, and even rebuy the game just so I can play with my friends.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's kind of, it's play on whatever device you want. They all interact with each other. It's a lot better for the consumer. It's a positive move. Sony held out the longest. They didn't want to do it because they were the console, sales leader. And for them, why would they allow people who don't buy their console to play with people on their ecosystem? But even they, backed down to a degree. And now it's pretty ubiquitous amongst a lot of the third party, big titles that come out. It's good to see.
Nice. Yeah. I played a few. I'm a controller. I need a controller, but I got some, I forget the brand, but I bought some kind of third party controller to play, like even Apple TV, they're not like the best games in the world, but they got a few cool titles on there. But I've played a few of those just off the Apple TV with a controller, and it was pretty sweet, but it's like, you get those automatically with like your subscription or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, part of Apple One, and so you get the Apple Arcade and all that stuff. Yeah.
I can't say that I play them a lot, but I've played them a couple times, or the nephew's been over and he can play it or whatever. But that, and I heard like Netflix has a gaming platform.
Yeah, Amazon tried to get into it too.
Amazon,
Google just killed theirs. Yeah, Google had Google Stadia.
That's
a lot of cloud streaming services.
Yeah.
There was a company in like 2007 called OnLive, which promised this idea that you can push a button on a controller, the game's being rendered somewhere else, and it sends you back the video frame of your character moving in the direction that you pressed or responding to the button that you pressed. And the idea that you're essentially playing a streaming video, has been around for quite a long time. And even today, they've gotten pretty good at it, but still can't beat that instant response you get from running the game locally.
Yeah.
And so I think Microsoft's strategy in that regard is probably the best, because they give you the option. You can buy a Samsung TV and it has a Game Pass app built into it, and you can play all your games that you're subscribed to, or you can play on a PC, or you can download the game on your Xbox and run it locally. So, it's kind of the best of both worlds while we're in this transition, because eventually they're going to get the latency, good enough where the vast majority of people are going to be okay playing it that way. And then it's just going to become, subscription city. You'll get the Sony subscription or the Xbox subscription, the Nintendo one, and that'll kind of follow that Game Pass model, because it does seem to be working pretty well.
Yeah, and
it's an interesting world.
Oh yeah, I have to say, as someone who's tries to keep on the forefront of tech, like I've got a Quest, I've got an Xbox One, and all that stuff, and Devin and I talk about new tech all the time. When OnLive came out and Devin was full tilt on it, I was one of the guys making fun of him nonstop. Like, there's no way the latency's ever going to make sense. Like, it's never going to make sense. And when they went down, I was pissing on the ashes, like, fuck you, I told you it wasn't ever going to work. And then later down the road, Game Pass came out with the subscription, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. Why haven't they done this before? I could play it on my phone when I'm over doing whatever. And Devin's just looking at me like, all right, motherfucker. Okay, yeah, I remember.
There's a lot of times where, I try out technologies, or I get excited about technologies that are just ahead of their time. The infrastructure. I mean, back when OnLive came out, like the average internet connection in homes was like 4 megabits. And now 4 megabits, we'd be like, oh my God, you can't do anything. Everything loads so slow. But back then, having 6 or 10 megabits was screaming fast. So, but at the end of the day, you can't beat the speed of light. At some point, the signals are traveling from your home to a server and then back to you. There's going to be a round trip. And that's why whenever you play online games, it shows you your ping to the server, because theoretically, the game won't actually know what you're doing for that little interim of time. If you press the button, I'm sure that you've experienced online where you're playing Call of Duty and no, I hit my button first. I definitely shot that guy. Sometimes you're full of crap, but other times it actually could have been the situation. It just didn't register it, in time. It registered his input first. So,
right. Those predictive models, right? They would do those predictive models where they have like every input you could possibly do, and it's reductive from like logic. Like if you're holding forward, it thinks you'll hold forward for so many steps and preload that many steps and preload your turns and stuff like that. Just enough to like make it reduce latency. It's the predictive model.
It's interesting too, because the emulating world, they're really pushing that hard. So, RetroArch is kind of the go-to emulation platform on PCs in terms of it can run many different games and emulate them. But with any emulator, say you're emulating an original Nintendo all the way to emulating, a Nintendo GameCube, through Dolphin, there's going to be latency. And there's more latency than the original game had because it has to emulate that environment. So what they do is similar to what Dave was saying, is they have something called run-ahead reduced latency. So what essentially it does is it will run your Nintendo game in multiple instances at once. And so it basically, instead of having to run the game and serve you up the next frame after it reads your input, it basically reads your input, then it draws the next frame. They've basically drawn every frame. If you pushed any button on the controller, they've drawn every frame at once. And then as soon as it registers that you pushed that direction, it immediately shows you that frame. So it's basically running the game X number of times, in order to make it so the latency in some cases is even less than the latency of the original system, which then has implications for speed running and all. It's a whole topic right now, because obviously, if you have less latency on an emulator than the original system, you're probably going to have to create a separate category of, high scores and world records just for that kind of a setup.
Nice. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, that's dude, his games are amazing. Like, have you watched I got into some documentaries here and there about like competitive gaming and stuff like that as a sport, like team gaming and things like that. And have you followed any of that at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, esports have been around for a bit now, but they've really blown up in the last 5 or so years. And now some of the most watched things in the world are like Dota, tournaments or League of Legends tournaments, and it's insane. The prize money is incredible. It's kind of wild.
Just like the crowds, the turnouts for those things, and like the money on the line, or like even I know a lot of former like athletes and stuff sponsor teams and stuff like that. Have their own teams, and it's just so wild. Even like I don't know if they even built them yet, but Atari was supposed to build like 2 game themed hotels, like one in Vegas and one in Chicago. And I don't even know if those got off the ground yet, but they had a built in. It was like a hotel for gamers, basically. Mm-hmm. But they had like a built-in stadium almost to have events and things like that.
Well, I find it interesting because Atari was it was eventually sold off to Warner, and then they sold that off, I think, to a French company that owned the license. I'm not sure who owns the license now, but the Atari that would be building that hotel is no way, shape, or form any relation to the original Atari. It's just brand recognition, and you have the Atari joystick and the logo, and you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, it looked cool from like the mock-ups and stuff. Like it looked pretty cool, but I just think that's crazy how all that's just blown up. And like even I was talking to some high school kids came to Job Shadow one day, and I work in marketing. And they came to Job Shadow Marketing, and I'm telling them all about like what I do and stuff. And these kids are sitting there just bored to death. And I'm like, I stopped what I was talking about. I'm like, why are you guys here? Like, are you guys even into marketing? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, what do you guys even like? Like, what are you into? And they both said, oh, like we like competitive gaming. Like we're on a team at our school. And like you can letter in that now and stuff, in gaming. And I'm like, well, why don't you guys just do that for like a career? Like, why don't you focus on something around gaming or making games, or like that's what you guys enjoy, And they were just kind of mind blown because they didn't even think of that could be an actual career.
Oh yeah, I mean, game development, game programming. There's the thing about video games that are so interesting compared to a lot of the other mediums is it involves everything. There's music creation, sound effect creation, Foley has to be made. Yeah. There's directing, whether it's art direction or cutscene direction, putting the camera where it needs to be, even though it's in a virtual space. A lot of times they'll have live actors recording using motion capture, and then you're basically taking all of these different mediums and smashing them together. So there are hundreds of positions and jobs for careers. Now, in terms of actually being a esports player, the interesting thing about that is you have people who retire at age like 24,
right?
Because a lot of times, that your hand-eye coordination peaks, and you become less and less good at the game as you get older, or have less and less response time. So the shelf life of players, isn't, you could argue if you're in the NFL or anything, the average length of a player's career is like 3 years, I think it is, something like that, 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. But like it has a shelf life. So if you're getting into esports as a career for yourself, make sure you have something else down the line. Unless you make enough in the till in the meantime to make it worth it. But you can get into announcing or being a commentator for esports as well. But definitely on the creation side. A lot of different careers.
Dude,
Yeah,
what if medically though? What if they do like you doc? I need new eyes and hands for gaming. You know,
Well, we're getting the cyberpunk stuff in here. You know, give me the
set.
augmentation. Yeah, give me the super contact lens.
Need better hands. Then is the guy? If you got new hands, is that cheating? You know,
I'm just going to put this out there, and this is going to be
control.
This is going to be a hot take on this one, but I think they're concerned with robots doing other things to their bodies rather than what can they put in their bodies to do things. That's all I'm going to say. So we'll see that technology before we start seeing augmentation. Mark my words.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me if there are several of those type of things out there already, Dave.
I'm just saying the advancements are going to be tilted that way. That's all I'm saying.
Don't even get me started on AI. We'll be here all day.
That's true.
I wonder if they have rules for doping, like in gaming. Do they?
Well, I mean, they let you take a Monster energy drink and Bang energy drink, so you're basically already kind of doping in a way.
Yeah, I think
you got to treat the sponsor right.
Exactly. It's like, please, I don't want any more Mountain Dew, please.
Oh, you'll see on like Instagram and things like that. I've seen companies promoting like a gamer drink, you know, specifically for gaming.
For sure.
It had like some kind of
fuel,
some kind of nootropic in it or something. You know, for sure.
I mean, Mountain Dew had Game Fuel, which was essentially it tasted like a melted cherry snow cone in a cup. It's about the sugariest thing you could ever drink. But I drank plenty of those playing games with Dave, and definitely did not go to sleep easily. You don't necessarily need a Monster.
You know what's really interesting about esports is at the highest level, you would think, like, oh, your Mountain Dews, your Monsters and stuff like that, that the doping that they would do would be all related to like getting amped up and stuff like that. But it's really not. It's quite the opposite, actually. A lot of the doping scandals and stuff like that have to do with slowing down the heart rate and things like that when you're getting into these amped up situations where you're seeing 10,000 things on your screen and you're supposed to relax and try to pick out the small things. So a lot of the doping is actually the opposite of what you think. And it's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's like taking Adderall. You got to focus on what's going on. I believe it. I'm not quite sure on this, but I know in the military they had like similar types of drugs for snipers to study their heart rate and their aim and their breathing for when they had to do long shots. So focusing on something and being precise, requires a clear head and even the slight vibrations of your heart beating fast or your breathing can really mess that up.
Oh man, I'm more old school, dude. Case of Mountain Dew and maybe some Doritos or something,
I'm fine with that. Sign me up. Nothing wrong with that.
I can remember, dude, just staying up all night trying to beat levels and stuff. You have people come over and everybody just up till like 2 a.m, trying to beat different, whatever it is, Mario levels or Contra was big back in the day.
Yep. We, in my parents' house back in the day, we had a projector on the back wall of the house. It was pretty cool. It was like a 10-foot, 12-foot projection screen, and we would play games throughout the night. And I remember me and my buddy Joe, who's also a friend of Devin's, we were playing Soul Calibur 4, trying to beat some story mission thing that took us like years to complete. And one night he was over and we were playing until literally the sun came up. It was like 8:30 in the morning, but since the sun came up on the other side, it didn't affect the screen. And my dad got up, was going to get in the car to get ready for work or like leave for work, looked in the backyard, walked up to Joe and went, "Go home. Just go home." Like, yeah, that's probably a good call. I
mean, I can, when I drink a Monster Energy drink, I can just feel the years coming off of my life. My heart starts racing. I'm like, this can't be good. I only got so many beats in that thing.
Sadly enough, I could drink one and go right to bed. So that's the scary thing. So
nothing works for you?
Nah, man. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it just depends. Like, you got to switch up the drink. I think at some point, if you say you drink Monster all the time, at some point it just stops working for you. You got to try something else. So, like, if you have like you mentioned Bang Energy, right? Like, I think the first time I had one of those, I was like, oh wow, that's something. And then like after a while, those kind of wore off too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I've stayed away from. I think I have had recently. I kind of went away from energy drinks for a while, and then I started just one day. I was like, oh, I'm gonna try one of those Ghost energy drinks, you know. And then I ended up buying cases of different flavors and stuff. But I haven't had one in quite some time, in about like 1 or 2 months. But I mean, those were pretty good. But those are like based off of actual coffee beans. I think it's you know, simple ingredients in those. It's probably one of the better ones for you. But but you know, I tell people like, oh man, you gotta get that drink with some complex 6 in it, whatever the hell that is, you know.
Yeah, well,
get a little
like
get a
Yellow
little
5.
little can of Nas, whatever the hell's in that, you know.
So Andy, would you say that having a child reduced, or did that have any effect on your energy intake when you had your child?
Reduced. That's when I quit drinking them. I just stopped drinking them altogether. I used to have one, either a Monster or a Rockstar or something every day, you know, maybe even 2 a day. I was even coffee too. I was at a high caffeine level for quite some time, and you know, morning, afternoon, and night, you know. And then one day I was like, oh, I'm just gonna stop. I think I went to a doctor or something. He was like, yeah, maybe like lay off the caffeine. And next day I was like, boom, done. And I just stopped taking it for like a year or two.
Yeah, like caffeine in general. Like I was like you, had built up quite a tolerance to it. Didn't really affect me much. I could drink several a day and be fine. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to just, you know, put caffeine on a hiatus. I cut all caffeine for about a year. And then after I came back from caffeine, I had one, I think it was a Bang energy drink, and I felt like I was going to die.
Yeah, there's
like
a lot of caffeine.
It hit me like a truck.
Caffeine. Well, it's like what, 350 milligrams or something like that. 300. Yeah, it's
so
a lot.
If you go off caffeine and get back on it after a long period of time, you know, be careful. That'll sneak up on you in a way you don't expect.
For sure. Yeah, now I'm just kind of like straight up coffee in the morning, and maybe in the afternoon I'll have a cup. Like that's it.
I prefer black coffee. Yeah, I feel like that's you get the purest form of the boost without, you know, all the extra garbage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because some of those drinks, depending what's in it, like it, you know, makes you feel warm. It makes you feel, you know.
Well, that's the niacin. That's in a lot of them.
Niacin,
it literally heats up your skin.
Yeah, some say they're like for focus and things like that. And I mean, yeah, you can tell once you first take it and stuff. Like it definitely does what it says, but you're not supposed to drink it all day. Some people go crazy with that stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, there were stories. You know, a guy had like 4 of them and then ended up in the hospital. You know, it's you never know what kind of condition you might have underlying that you're agitating.
So I attempted that fate once. I was at an IHOP and my buddies were like, Dave, you seem to never get affected by these. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, bring them on. And I drank 4 of them after already having one at some point. So it was the 5th one. And I was driving home. And I remember, you know, not busy roads. Somebody was following me just in case something bad happened. And I was like, no, it's fine. I physically crashed, you know, just from the thing in the middle of a turn lane. And when I say crash, I mean I stopped the car and I couldn't move my arms. Like I could not move at all. Like I was just like zonked. I'm like 5 seconds away from like falling asleep. Luckily, like it, you know, was enough where I stopped the car. My buddy went and just like pounded on the window, opened the door, and drove me home. But I remember physically just going like, "Yep, let's power down right now." And
so it wasn't the energy that got you; it was the mega crash.
You just had a
mega crash, yeah.
Or actually, you had a stroke.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you were trying not to crash while you were crashing.
There are no jokes I can make from this that would make it appropriate for any of the platforms that we're on. So I'm just going to leave that one for the post stream, the after hours.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. People got to watch that stuff. Like I used to see people, go into a gas station and get like a big soda, and then they get like 2 of those 5-hour energies, you know, and it's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, that's way too much caffeine, dude. Like,
Oh yeah.
Like, it's
At one
dangerous.
point in college, I downed like, I think it was like 6 5-hour energy drinks because I just went and bought a case of them and I got dared or something or other. But I don't know if you're familiar with Futurama, but there's that episode where Fry drinks 100 cups of coffee and time seems to slow down for him. I was definitely experiencing something like that, where nothing felt real. Everything felt like it was like moving really slowly, like time in general. But it was not a comfortable feeling. I'll tell you that. Do not recommend.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Mm. Yeah, what? So you said you were into a lot of setups. What are you talking like gaming setups? Like I've been doing a lot of. I'm into like podcast setups, like this kind of like I made my own studio at home, so I got like lights and cameras and like I'm into all that stuff, mics and
Oh yeah, no. For me, it's there's a lot of different types of setups that I tinker with. Whether it's an AV setup for making it where it has to do with the streaming setup too, because you can have it where I flip on one system and it'll show up on my OLED TV. It'll show up on my CRTs. It'll show up on this capture software. You can kind of pick your poison where you want to play it, and with minimal messing with it. Everything kind of auto switches. And then you have the other end of it, which is the equipment side, which, whether it's from cameras to microphones. I'm a bit of a gearhead when it comes to microphones. A new one comes out with a unique feature that I like, and I just got to try it out. And then, as far as it goes with microphones too, it's not like you drop some money on a microphone. Like, it's not going to be a bad microphone in 20 years. It's still, it's still going to have its value. And I have a couple of Shure SM7Bs, the traditional, everybody has that podcast microphone. What I'm using right now is actually a relatively new microphone. It's the Blue Sonos by now Logitech bought Blue.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically Blue's take on the Shure SM7B. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these, there's another one by SE Electronics called the Dynacaster. They have basically built-in mic activators. So if you're familiar with like a Shure SM7B or any kind of hard-to-drive dynamic microphone, usually need some kind of a FET head or a cloud lifter in order to boost the gain up, unless you have a really good interface. So basically, these mic activators, they similar to how a condenser microphone will use the 48-volt phantom power to activate. It'll leverage your interface's 48 phantom power to boost this mic activator that's built into the microphone. So you get a lot of clean gain directly from the dynamic microphone, which is something that's relatively new. Usually you have to buy a couple cloud lifters, couple Shure SM7Bs to get like a real professional sounding podcast setup. And now you're getting these microphones that have slightly different sound profiles, but are pretty comparable. And then it just depends on your chain. I'm a big believer in hardware chains, in terms of if you can get, like a DBX, or if you can get something in your mixer in terms of doing EQ, anything you can do pre it going into your computer. You basically having that all done on hardware side, zero latencies being added to the mix, and then you have the other side of it, which is the software plugins. So it's definitely easier to just get a cheap interface, a decent microphone, and then mess with software plugins. But in order to really dial in your sound, you're going to be introducing some level of latency, into your audio chain by having it going through these digital processing post it entering your computer. And it's the same thing with gain or anything else. Gain is always cleaner when it's being handled externally than when you add digital gain. It's not quite the same, but it's similar, like digital zoom. You're always going to get better with a hardware, physical, optical zoom than you are going to be with a fixed resolution, CSI enhanced zooming into the picture. You're always going to lose some of that detail and quality with it. So definitely a fan of doing stuff before it enters the machine if you can. Getting an audio rack set up for an average person isn't necessary. I'm a firm believer in audio first before you deal with visual. So if you have an annoying microphone and you sound tinny and you have a lot of, plosives or you have a lot of sibilance in your sound, you'll become grating to listen to over a while, and that will turn your audience members off much faster than if you have a cheap webcam instead of using an SLR into a capture card. So definitely if you can get yourself an audio interface. I know for a lot of gamers, Elgato makes a litany of products. Corsair owns them, and they have the Wave XLR, which basically is a one microphone interface. So if you're trying to do a podcast of multiple people on one location, it might not be the best bet. And you cannot plug in more than one at once. The software doesn't let you do it. But basically what's nice about the Elgato software suite is it gives you a bunch of tools to manage your computer's audio and various sources of audio, similar to if you've ever used like Voicemeeter. And so basically you can direct certain applications to certain inputs and have direct control of their volume. And then it syncs up to, if you have a Stream Deck to kind of handle the various audio effects or control all these different channels pretty easily. What's nice about this Wave XLR is it's not too expensive. It offers a lot of clean gain, and it has probably my favorite feature that a lot of these expensive, even like something like an Apollo Twin, doesn't have. It's called a clip guard. Clip guard is a great feature, especially for a lot of gamers, because a lot of times you could be talking and you're doing a guide and you're like, hey, how's it going? This is the stream. Welcome to the stream. And you're like, oh shit, and you kind of out of nowhere. And so what's cool about clip guard is essentially is recording a simultaneous second track at negative 20 dB of what your current track is. And so then as you clip, it'll automatically transition to that lower decibel track. So you wind up not clipping because you have two simultaneous audio recordings that it will fluctuate between as you get louder and softer. And so I wouldn't recommend boosting your gain, to crazy levels and using that as compression. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed to guard against clips. But it is a nice feature for, a type of streamer who might get very excited but has a relatively, not loud talking voice.
Sure. Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, there's so much awesome tech out there. You can totally go nuts, trying to buy everything. Some people like they want to buy everything first and get all set up. And I think it just keeps them away from actually streaming and creating, content or whatever they want to do, that they get so caught up in the tech. But I just love, I'm always like, I don't know, Dave will tell you this too, but I'll say I'll have a certain microphone or whatever. And then one day I'm like, I'll find something else, or I'll do a lot of research on something else. The next thing you know, I'm like switching all my mics to, I recently I switched all my mics to Rode, and I wanted something for simplicity where I could use a mic for streaming, or I can hook up some mics to a laptop and have people over and do a 3-mic podcast. So I switched everything to Rode mics, the minis, and but I just really need one. But I bought 2 more just in case.
And I love Rode. If you've ever used the Rode Go stuff when it comes to the wireless microphone, phenomenal microphones for the price. I mean, they give you so much value.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that the Rode was it the Rode Procaster?
Yep.
Is that there's a Procaster 2 just came out? That's sick interface.
Yeah, there's a smaller one.
Yeah, and those things are crazy because they essentially do what I was talking about earlier. They're a little bit pricier. Yeah. I think they're like $600. But you can have 4 microphones plugged in on site. Yeah. You have complete control over each one. It'll have you can add basically all your equalization, your compression, your de-essing, all on the unit prior to it going into the PC. So it's basically like having this side chain of a hardware rack, but it's all done in this one unit. So that's a quick way to kind of get up to a high level. But I totally agree with you. The thing about content creation is just create content. If your content is entertaining, people will enjoy it. there are people who are very successful who still have crappy setups. Looking professional can help you play the part. It can help you, have validity if you're in spaces with other creators. But at the end of the day, if you're not pumping out content, then the algorithm is going to forget about you. So you just got to be on a content creation schedule, and you just got to keep making stuff and then upgrade as you go. I would say audio first, then video, and then kind of, try to tie everything together with branding. Having unified branding helps as well. But if you're waiting to, create stuff until you have the perfect setup, that'll never happen. There's always going to be something better. There's always going to be something you want to add that if I only could just get this, then I can start.
Right.
You'll get stuck.
Yeah. And that'll
sure.
be something next. It'll be the next thing. And it always keeps hanging you up. But I'll actually look for, now my big thing now is to look for, if there's something I have an eye on, like say on Amazon or something, I'll put it on my list, but I'm looking for, any of those, open box deals from the warehouse. Right. So it'll say like used or, maybe the box was damaged or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get like really good discounts on some of this equipment just by getting like open box items, or even I recently this past year upgraded my video cam to a Canon. But I took a chance on actually Marketplace, and a guy from the East Coast sent me this camera. I took a chance on it, and it's great. It's perfect.
I mean that there are certain things that I wouldn't do that method for, and there are other things that it's quite a steal.
Yeah.
Like for I'm kind of a stickler on displays. So like if there's an open box monitor that was returned, the monitor might work fine. Maybe it has a dead pixel somewhere. Maybe it has bad backlight bleed. There's so many little things that a manufacturer might still find completely tolerable, but they're just kind of hoping you don't notice it and that you buy it. But when it comes to audio equipment, microphones especially, they're so subjective. You could watch hundreds of videos on a microphone, and you're like, this microphone's perfect. It's a great price. Has a lot of features. It looks like it has the type of sound that I would like. You get it, you try it out, you don't like it, you return it. And there's nothing wrong with the microphone other than the fact that it was taken out and used for, an hour or two. Yeah. So audio equipment for sure, if you're looking for a deal, open box items. I know that Sam Ash used to have this section of open box items, and you can get some nice deals there.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be hesitant to do it with a display.
Returns or open boxes for sure. Especially, are you familiar with Sweetwater?
Yeah.
I love Sweetwater. I've bought enough stuff there. I got like my own Sweetwater sales guy who will be like, "Hey, got this microphone coming out. You might be interested in it." I'm like, okay, can you give me a discount on it? Let's talk. But I love Sweetwater, and I think that they're based in Indiana. Is it Indiana? I want to say it's Indiana. So they're relative. You can go to their headquarters, but they're a crazy, awesome place. It's like the mega for audio equipment. So I like to typically I'll find something on Amazon, and then I'll wind up buying it on Sweetwater if I can. I enjoy their customer service as well. There's always something new coming out. Headphone wise, like I'm a big fan of Austrian Audio. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No.
So basically, a lot of the legendary guys in the AKG group, AKG, they were bought, I think, by Samsung, if I recall correctly. And basically, a lot of those guys either got laid off or they quit, and they formed their own companies. These are people who have been making professional headphones, for 50, 60 years. Some of these guys, and they formed their own company in Austria called Austrian Audio, and everything is made in Austria. They make it handmade. I'm actually wearing a pair of their headphones now. But they basically have, in my opinion, have a great sound signature. Some people might find them a little bit too sibilant, but they're very clear and they have a lot of stage presence. So like a lot of space, so you can kind of something placed in a specific location in the song, it's very clear where that instrument is placed on the soundstage. I I have a pair of open back and a pair of closed back. I use the closed back to monitor when I do podcasting, and then I have the open back for laying back and enjoying some high res music files. But if you get a good pair of headphones, it'll change whether they're planers or traditional drivers. A good pair of headphones, and you'll hear music you've listened to 100 times and be like, I never realized that little instrument was in there, or like this sounds like it's a whole new mix. Because people my age, we grew up with we had CDs and we didn't really absorb that the CD quality was excellent. We went straight to the iPod, and then you wound up with 128 kilobit MP3 files, and then we went to AAC files, and finally now through Apple Music you can get lossless, either high res or CD quality audio, directly from the streaming services. And it's taken a long time, but we're finally in a place where access to high quality audio is pretty ubiquitous, depending on the platform you choose. And it's great to see, because the people who are wearing regular AirPods, they're not necessarily going to notice a huge difference. But the higher you can get the lowest common denominator of audio quality, the better, because then people overall will expect a better quality experience from their music. And then it makes the higher quality stuff more available for more people. And that's kind of what we saw with Apple Music's transition. Companies like Tidal, and Amazon launched Amazon Music HD, and so now all of a sudden Apple's like, okay, well, we have to make sure we do this to compete. And then you have poor Spotify, which still kind of uses OGG files, which are fine. The quality is okay. But it can't compete if you have higher quality equipment that you're listening through.
Yeah, I brought the AirPods Pro, just to have
the new
some,
ones, or the
like the first gen, and I got those just to have earbuds to listen to some music or whatever, and because I got Apple Music in that, but and they've done some software updates here and there, and one of them I had to get replaced because it had some like crackling in it, and they replaced it just fine, and they were great still. But I put them in the other day, and I was on my iPad watching like the tail end of a football game, and just with those AirPods in and watching that football game, the sound was amazing. Like it was crazy.
It's cool. They're doing a lot of cool audio engineering tricks. So, like for example, they have microphones on the inside of the AirPods Pro, and they basically listen for the contours of your ear shape and your canal in order to kind of tailor the sound signature to you. Basically, I'm forgetting the company that kind of did that first. I have one of their headphones, and I'm blanking out. No, Neurophone. They kind of pioneered that, and now it's built into the AirPods. What's cool about that is now they know the contour of your ear, and you can actually use your iPhone in settings, and it will actually hold up and use a 3D scan using your front-facing camera of your actual ear shape to even tailor that further. And the spatial audio, if you're watching content that supports 5.1 or 7.1 or Dolby Atmos, it's pretty convincing, because they're able to basically direct the sound waves, knowing how it's going to ricochet around your ear to give you the illusion that it's coming from a certain place. We've kind of always heard about that technology when it comes to gaming headphones. They're surround sound. Like, trust me, they're surround sound. When someone shoots behind you, you can tell they're behind you, and that works from varying degrees of success. But now it's starting to get really good. Being able to quickly tailor it to each individual ear, because everyone's ear is different. And it's really convincing. If you go into the Apple Music app, there's a whole playlist of made for spatial audio. Yep. And if you watch that with AirPods Pros, with especially if you have the head tracking, which is wild, you turn your head and it's like you're facing away from the speakers, and it actually works pretty well. It's kind of wild. I wouldn't recommend watching a movie with the head tracking, because you don't always want the sound to go away from you when you're not looking at it, especially if you're Dave and you multitask all the time. But in general, it's kind of crazy. The technology is really things are advancing so rapidly on all fronts, and it's crazy how we take everything for granted at this point. It used to be, oh my God, this iPhone's going to change everything. The smartphone's going to revolutionize everything, and now it's just so ubiquitous in our lives. It's like every year, okay, here's a new shiny rectangle with a couple new features. We don't realize in the back end that all these services, the infrastructure, the data centers, everything's being upgraded constantly. And even when you had like streaming music services from, when Spotify first came out, the quality you could get and the amount of time it would take from when you push play to it buffering and actually playing off their servers, like everything we expect to be instant at this point. And it's only going to get crazier once you start getting into the realm of augmented reality, where you can buy the Apple glasses and you don't need your phone anymore, and you're just at first you'll plug into your phone, or you'll Bluetooth some kind of wireless connectivity to your phone, and your phone will be the brains of it, and then the glasses will basically just be a display. But eventually we're going to end up with just a pair of glasses you put on, or even contact lenses, and you basically have access to everything. And just like with the phone and touch, or with the computer and the mouse and keyboard, whoever perfects the interface for interacting with that new AR experience, where it becomes so ubiquitous and streamlined, where it's just natural. You see children pick up a magazine, they start touching the cover of it because they think it's a touchscreen. When it becomes so intuitive, whoever gets that right first and nails that interface is going to control that next revolution in technology for sure.
Oh yeah, dude, my 3-year-old already knows how to navigate YouTube and like go to the next video, you'll pause, go to the next selection, swipe over. Same with like I swear, like the Apple remote, she just knew how to use that. She just knows how to use the remote. Like,
yeah, it was really weird. Yesterday she was ratioing Logan Paul on Twitter. It was great.
She's like, I want my CryptoZoo eggs back.
Right.
Oh, it's just so crazy. It's all like LOL surprise around here. It's crazy, dude.
You gotta be careful, man. That YouTube Kids, that can be a pretty dodgy place sometimes.
Oh, I know, man.
Watch out.
Yeah, the things that YouTube Kids is nuts, man. But it's like here, it's like here's my phone, watch your thing, and it's like she knows how to use my phone. She knows how to, control like some of the, like she has a sound machine like in her room, right? So at night it plays a noise or has a light on it. She knows how to control the volume on that and do all that stuff. And I'm just like, wow, dude, this is so crazy.
Now, do you have a smart home setup yet around the house?
Kinda, not crazy like though. I dove right in with that smart thermostat though.
Have you invited the government into your home?
No, no, dude. Like I used to have like the Amazon Echoes and the Google Home, like the voice activated stuff, and even like I kind of got rid of those. Well, I still have them, but I don't use them. But then I got the Home Pods, but I don't use the like voice activation stuff. I just like to use them as speakers, Mm-hmm. I'm not really into using voice search or anything like that yet. It's just not for. I don't know. I just haven't got into it.
I don't know.
I like in the Apple TV that when you go to a search, it pops up on your phone and gives you the option to use your phone's keyboard to type in the search.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice for sure. I do like that, or to automatically like log into stuff from your phone.
Uses your cable subscription or whatever service you have to unlock all that stuff relatively easily. Yeah.
I will use voice search on the Apple TV through the remote sometimes, just because it's quicker. Than type in and stuff, but
a lot of time you're just trying to figure out what service the thing you're trying to watch is on.
Yeah, and what's it on now? They moved it
exactly.
from Netflix to Hulu. Or
like, do you remember the golden age? And it was like 2012 when like everything was on Netflix, like everything. You had one subscription. It was like, oh my god, this is like the future. Everything's here. And now you have what? You have Disney Plus, Netflix, Discovery Plus, Apple TV Plus, Paramount Plus. Like it just keeps going. HBO Max, the subscriptions are getting out of hand. Where if you piece all these subscriptions together, you're basically paying what you would have paid for a cable package anyway.
Yeah,
and
it's
the
crazy.
problem is that you get subscriptions for 1 or 2 shows now. So it's like, oh, I want to watch Heels on Stars, but I could give a damn about Stars when they don't have that show on. So it's like I'm getting that subscription just for 1 or 2 things, and then I'm either canceling it or forgetting to cancel.
Well, yeah, they're
it
banking that you're going to forget. They say 80% of people have at least one subscription that they forgot to cancel that they're still paying for recurringly. Yeah. My grandparents, they're like, oh, can you help fix my internet? And I was helping them fix their internet. They had an issue with their router, and she's like, it's definitely not the billing because I paid my AOL. I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, don't you have Comcast? She's like, yeah, we have Comcast. We pay for that for our cable TV and our internet. I'm like, what are you paying for AOL? She goes, oh, well, we still use AOL Mail.
Oh,
I'm like, AOL Mail is free. I'm like, you've been paying for AOL dial-up internet? She's like, since when? She's like, since like the late 90s. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I found this out like last year. So quickly had them cancel that. And they were so worried they were going to lose their email. But like people just don't know they have subscription services enabled. There are applications that you can like enter in your banking information and it'll tell you all the subscriptions that you didn't cancel or that you have. And if you want to cancel them, or they'll auto cancel it for you. But it's a real problem, this walled garden of content, if you have a family, and especially if your family is, older, and Netflix is starting to crack down on that. But like, me and my brother and my sister, my mom, my grandma, whatever, we all have a Netflix account, and we split that Netflix account, and we're never, passing the whatever 2 or 3 streams, whatever you can get at a time.
Yeah.
No,
so at that point, it becomes very cost effective, but they're starting to crack down on that, where they'll actually charge you more a month. I think that's Netflix's plan. They'll charge you more a month based on how many profiles you have.
Yeah, like an extra couple bucks, right? Or they'll ask that person if they want to
switch off to their own account. Exactly.
Yeah.
You might have gotten that email recently where they're like, introducing profile transfers. You can transfer your profile to another account. And all that's going to lead to is just a bunch of people who, share one profile, and then, you're going to get the British, baking bake off, whatever, on when you're trying to watch, BoJack Horseman or something.
Right, because it's difficult for someone like me where I legit am watching my streaming services at work or on the road when we're places. So like you can't IP track me because I legitimately will be watching Netflix in the car or at a hotel somewhere. So you're going to charge me every time I'm on a different IP. There's no chance in hell you're going to be able to do that.
It's also interesting with the war with the VPN services too. Where like, this is available on UK Netflix. So if I switch my VPN to the UK, and then at first it worked for everyone, and then Netflix found out how to stop it, and then ExpressVPN was like, we have a way around it, and then Nord's like, we figured that out too. And it's kind of like, it reminds me of ad blockers, this constant race where it's like YouTube's figured out how to stop, Ad Block Plus. It's like, we released an update, now it blocks YouTube again, and you get to the point where, like I have YouTube Premium because I spend a good chunk of my time on YouTube, I would say overall, whether it's, learning about different technology or, I'm sure you've been there where a new microphone comes out and you watch like 50 videos on it.
Yeah. Oh,
you're trying to find a reason not to buy it.
I recently did that with a keyboard, and I ended up ordering it.
Yeah. Yep.
And then even after I ordered it, I'm still watching review videos on it.
Yep.
Just like, to be sure. Just to convince myself.
These ones have good stabilizers. This keyboard thocks. Yeah, for sure. No, I gotta get this one.
Which keyboard was it, by the way?
It's the Logitech mechanical mini.
The low profile?
Yeah.
As far as low profile keyboards go, that's actually a really good one.
Yeah.
As far as pre-builds go too, it's really nice.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot about it. So yeah, it looks really sweet. Plus it'll match the new mouse I got. So
yep, I have the MX Master 3S.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yep, I have it in white as well. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But yeah, no, like I go to people's houses who are like streaming YouTube videos onto their TV. And it's like the pre-roll ad and the mid-roll ad, and I'm like, oh my god! Because I've had premium now for a couple years. Like I think I got into it during like the heyday of YouTube Red
Yeah.
It's called YouTube Original now.
Same here.
And now it's like I can't go back. Like there's so many ads. It's crazy.
That's where Cobra Kai started. Remember, was on YouTube.
Cobra Kai. Yeah, yep.
I was like, sweet, no ads and Cobra Kai.
Yeah,
F everything.
I think that's when I got it too. It was like Cobra Kai. Like I think we were talking about it.
Yeah,
and I jumped onto that, and I'm like, I'm never going commercials again. And I'll tell you, same thing with Hulu. They used to show me this this ad for this Josh Wine, right? Josh Wine Seller, like, and they showed me that ad so much that it got me to go commercial free.
If I see this thing one more time,
it was Josh that got me to switch. Like I couldn't stand seeing the goddamn commercials. So
I mean, I talked to some people and they're like, these are the people who will like they'll never pay 99 cents for an app. Like they'll only play the free one. They'll watch the ad every time they beat a level. You know, they just refuse to pay for something that they can get for free. Yeah. Even if it's very inconvenient. But like, they'll be like, hey, like, I'm not going to pay for YouTube. Like YouTube's free. It's fine. And I'm just like, I'm on YouTube more than any of these other streaming services. If I should be on, paying for anything, it should be this. And now they're going to block 4K and 8K content behind that, the premium paywall.
Yeah.
You know, which I mean, hey, bandwidth is expensive. Like, at some point, you know, these companies that we've experienced throughout the 2010s, you know, they have the business model of growing the user base. One day will be profitable, you know.
And what's weird is seeing
it's
like
not sustainable.
Seeing like Netflix is going to offer an ad tier. Like it's so weird. I
think they have to. A lot of these other sites offer ad tiers now.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I don't want them, dude. I'm ad free everything. Like I don't want to.
They have Hulu. Well, they actually have a cheaper version of Hulu that has ads. You know, I have to get the one without ads. And sometimes it screws you because like you want to get like the bundle or something that has all the things together, but it only comes with the basic one. You know, you have to wait for them to come out with the bundle that actually includes the. I want the the Ultra HD Netflix with HDR, and I want to have the Hulu with no commercials, and I want to save some money by bundling, ESPN, Hulu, and Disney Plus. But at the same time, you'll get Disney Plus HD without 4K and with ads and Hulu. I think they have tiers now.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is that now they got you locked in. These things are only going to go up. Every year we're seeing now. And even Game Pass is going to be a victim of this as well. They haven't happened yet, but every year you're going to have the subscription price per month. Or annual go up slightly, just because they have to, kind of do that because their subscriber base. Look at something like Amazon Prime, right? Like everybody who wants Amazon Prime has Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah,
so you're at the point now where it's okay. How do I get more money out of them instead of relying on acquiring new users? You can only have so many Prime days.
Yeah, I'm big on like I even went commercial free on Peacock subscription.
Yeah, because you got like the basic one with like your Comcast subscription or something.
Oh, I just got the basic one just to because the Wrestling Network jumped over there, and then we watched some shows on there on NBC anyways, so might as well get it. It was like $5, but then I was like, dude, I just recently it was like. Nope, I can't do the commercials anymore. Upgraded that, but and I'll jump on any kind of yearly plan when I see it, like HBO, right? Mm-hmm. HBO Max or whatever. It's usually cheaper to get a yearly.
Yep, you save it by getting the whole year. Yeah.
And why not? You're watching the series.
Going back to like the 2012 Netflix. Back then it's like, oh, I want to watch Iron Man, followed by The Office, followed by Harry Potter. It was all there.
Yeah,
it didn't matter what studio it was from. It was they all had everything. So it was literally just you pay for one Netflix subscription. You turn on your Xbox. You tell your Xbox Connect to play, and then you go from there.
That. No one ever talked to the Connect app. You were the only guy.
Hey, in college when like you had a bunch of people over and you're watching a movie and you just said, "Hey, Xbox pause," and it paused in an era prior to Alexa and everything else. It was pretty impressive.
It was only impressive because you were so blazed out of your mind you couldn't find the controller. That's the only reason it was impressive.
See, that it's a win-win.
Yeah, even some of the, dude, even like some of this tech, man, like just like with like lights, like just any kind of lighting now for like your room, and you can just tell like Alexa or whatever to turn the room on or off, or just like any of that smart stuff is just it's insane when you think about it. But now it's just like you expect it to be there.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, it was like you had the family computer plugged into the router, and you had maybe wirelessly a laptop or computers in a bedroom hooked up. You might have had 5, 6 devices hooked up to your Wi-Fi. Like in my house right now, I have 46 connected devices.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, think about that. You got like just on a Wi-Fi. I haven't even hooked them up yet, but talking about smart home, but even your new stoves and washers and dryers and all that, you dishwasher, you can hook them all up to your Wi-Fi. Garage door openers, like your garage doors, you can hook those up. Like everything now. Then maybe you also have like the like the cameras and stuff out front, they're all on your Wi-Fi, and that stuff adds up. And then you got what happens is you end up having to upgrade your internet plan, to support everything, basically.
Well, not even necessarily the speed of the internet, but the range and the amount of connected devices to your router. Yeah.
You start upgrading your equipment, and yeah, it's just insane.
Yeah, that was the biggest advancement in the last couple of years. Was they used to have like back in the day it was 802.11a, B, then G, then N, then AC was around for quite a while, and then now they have AX, and they wisely decided just to call it Wi-Fi 6. So when you hear Wi-Fi 6, it actually is 802.11ax, but it was a huge advancement because of 2 major changes. One was they could what they call color frequencies. What I mean by that is you can send to multiple 2.4 gigahertz devices, and even though they're being sent at the same time, the data in the packet is slightly different, or they call it colored. Say one's yellow and one's blue, and you have a device that's looking for yellow and it receives the yellow information, and the device is looking for the blue and it's receiving the blue information, even though it's being sent together, as kind of a noise. So it's able to parse that out. So now you can serve more devices at once. And then the other thing would be in terms of transmission. Before everything used to have to wait their turn. It was actually called like airtime fairness. So like every device connected to your Wi-Fi would literally have to be serviced one at a time. Now, obviously, it was being sent information fast, but it would be like, okay, this is requesting this, send that. That's requesting this, send that. And it would go down the line of whatever making the request and service it in order. And in Wi-Fi 6, instead of that, now it can actually simultaneously send the information to multiple clients at once. And these 2 advancements have actually made it where 2.4 gigahertz is usable again. And I'm sure it's fine if you have a house, but if you've been in an apartment building or a condo, like 2.4 gigahertz is just destroyed. The amount of interference, there's only a couple of channels that really work well for it, and the amount of interference you get, from your neighbors or above you, below you, left and right of you, the seeping into your space, makes it where you have to wind up getting a bunch of repeaters and mesh networking just in order to get coverage. But the problem is, the more things you add, then the worse your neighbor's connection is, and then they add more things, and then it's like an arms race to claim wireless spectrum inside of an apartment building, whereas this Wi-Fi 6 actually makes a big impact on that, and it also, with Wi-Fi 6E, which is the latest right now, it introduces the 6 gigahertz spectrum. So just like with anything, I always like to compare it to like AM or FM radio. Like AM, it goes farther, but it has less quality. FM doesn't go as far, but you get better quality. The higher the frequency of transmission, the shorter the range, but the more throughput you can get. So with 5 gigahertz networks or 2.4 gigahertz networks, the 2.4 goes farther, but it has less speed. The 5 gigahertz will give you more speed, but less range. This new 6 gigahertz spectrum that is on Wi-Fi 6E, it can get you, like 2 gigabits plus, of transmission, but at the same time, if you leave the room, the range is pretty limited. But that being said, not many things are using the 6 gigahertz spectrum right now. So if you were to get a router that supported the 6 gigahertz spectrum and you had a phone that supported the 6 gigahertz, then you're basically on a clean highway of frequency that nothing's really messing with.
Yeah.
With 2.4, a microwave could be messing with it, or your neighbor's hundreds of devices and your 100 smart bulbs, and with 5 gigahertz, all your laptops and your connected TV boxes and everything, those are all going to use the 5 gigahertz, and so they're competing. But the 6 gigahertz has the least range of all of them, but the fastest speed, but there's no competition. And eventually that'll change. More and more people will get 6 gigahertz routers, and then that'll be an issue again. And I know Wi-Fi 7 is right around the corner, so it's never going to stop. It's never going to end.
I can't even imagine trying to manage that in like an apartment building or something. But even in like a small subdivision, like I used to live in a small subdivision before we moved to this place, but we had neighbors on all sides, and you'd get interference like crazy unless you know enough to like change your channels and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. You ever download like a Spectrum application to check the channels in use?
Yeah, like I had I forget the name of the app, but I have a couple of apps for Mac that you can scan the area and stuff like that to see what's interfering and stuff like that, and like what their signal strengths are and things. And once you get adjusting that, then it's fine. You just got to kind of find that sweet spot. But a lot of your average person doesn't even know about that,
Yeah, and the automatic channel selection that these routers have are terrible.
Yeah,
like you plug it in, and it's like, it'll automatically pick the best channel for bull crap. It always picks either 1, 6, or 11 or whatever it is for 2.4 gigahertz. Those are the main 3, and any of the other ones you choose are actually kind of in between them. You shouldn't even use those. You should really pick one of those 3 that's least cluttered. But at the end of the day, they're all going to compete.
Yeah. I ended up upgrading to more of like I guess you'd call it a small business solution, but Meraki Go solution.
Oh, Meraki's awesome.
Yeah, with access points and stuff, and it's like no trouble whatsoever.
Yeah, Meraki and Ubiquiti and Aruba. All of those are awesome.
Yeah,
super easy to configure too.
Yeah, super easy to configure, control on your app, and but you just think about like, because I can remember just small problems or internet not working or always trying to like stream a video and it kept hesitating or stopping, and just the frustration because you're getting all this interference and everybody blames their provider,
Mm-hmm.
and but it's usually your Wi-Fi. Unless you're
that's the first thing that a technician will do for you. You
Yeah.
call Comcast, say my internet's slow. They say grab an Ethernet cable, plug it into your computer, let's run a speed test.
Yeah.
And then it comes back with the correct number, and they're like, well, it's something in your environment, it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because similar to how we were talking earlier about how video game music, the limitations of the hardware kind of made you have to be more creative. In the early days of the internet, and especially in the early days of like Windows, 2000 and XP, Mac was a little bit better, but it still had issues. Just the amount of times where you had to really get into nitty gritty to make your internet work. And like my dad didn't want to have to do anything with it. So if the internet wasn't working or the Netgear router wasn't working right, like I would be the one I would like, 9-10 years old. I'm calling Netgear and, like, okay. Like, all right, I open up the command prompt. What should I type in? IP config. Okay. That's my IP address. It's not getting the right one. Or what do I do now? And kind of learning, how to troubleshoot that stuff.
And you're like, oh, what grade are you in? Oh, me too. Oh, cool.
Oh no, it wasn't that. It was usually, they would mistake me for the wife. They'd be like, yes, ma'am. And I'd be like, okay. But it became useful because like I would say, hey, Comcast has the new Comcast Blast speed. I would love to get the speed, and my dad would be like, if you can call Comcast and get them to give it to us for no increase on our bill, you can have it.
Nice.
And I would call, and then I would go to the customer retention department, and I would say we're going to cut service and everything. And I was like a kid doing this. And honest to God, in the real world, and my job, and I work in IT, and a lot of times when you're negotiating deals and trying to get your bill lower, it's a lot of the same skill set. So it's a weird way to learn that stuff, but it kind of came in handy.
Oh, it's crazy. And like, you got to call up and, ask about the deals. They can't, I don't know, there's some law against that or something where they can't just switch your plan, whatever you're on. So people end up actually paying more over the long period of time when they could simply just call and get the new price.
Yeah. And the biggest farce ever is the fact that, hey, you're in a 2-year contract. Your bill's going to go way up afterwards. No, it's not. No, it's not. If you call them before that contract is up and say, I am going to stop my service, please send me to the customer retention department. They will send you there, and you'll say, it's just going to get too expensive after this deal ends. And they'll say, well, here's our new deal. You want a 1 year or 2 year? 2 year might even be cheaper. Yep. And if you're obviously you have to realize there could be a termination fee if you decide to switch providers. But let's be honest, South Park has reminded us they're the only cable game in town. Too bad. Just lock into a deal and get that good pricing. And the longer you lock into a deal, the less you have to talk to those guys, because that's always a fun experience.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, man, it's just so crazy how far things have come. I just remember when internet was, it started off with AOL, right? I think my first computer was a compact computer, and it was on AOL. And then I found out one day, like, oh, that's not just the internet. Like, you could get like Prodigy, at the time. Yep. And then, like, as soon as I switched from AOL to Prodigy, it was like, oh shit, there's an internet out there,
Yep.
Because you were so trapped in the AOL environment.
I forget which one we switched. We had AOL, and I think it was called like Net Zero or something, or Net 10.
Yes, Net Zero, yeah.
Net Zero, yeah. And then you'd use Netscape Navigator.
Yeah.
And that was your window to the world, and you would go to Alta Vista.
Yes.
And find whatever you wanted, because they had image searches and stuff that Google didn't have yet.
Yeah.
So,
crazy.
And Ask Jeeves, and the screaming dial-up, 56K of goodness. It was a different world, and the old internet is still fascinating. If you ever go to the Wayback Machine and look up some of these old web pages, the GeoCities sites of the world. It was or the MySpace, when you log into it and immediately you're blasted with background music that plays, and everybody's friends with Tom. A lot of things have changed, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, everything is exponentially advancing. And put it this way, right? Like the smartphone as we know it, it came out in 2007, and the world is completely transformed. And it didn't even start transforming until, the App Store and everything in 2008 and onward, and Android getting into the mix as well. And now it's like you need a smartphone to really interact with the modern world at all. A lot of places require it. There's still backup ways and old ways of doing it, but the convenience factor. Even during the pandemic, having touchless payment was highly encouraged. The pandemic did more for Google Pay, Wallet, and Apple Pay than anything else could. But it's crazy to think how much the world has transformed, and it's the world when it comes to AI, when it comes to augmented reality. The next 10 years, we're going to fast forward another 15 years, and it's going to be. Man, you remember when we were using smartphones for everything? That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
like Back to the Future. That's a baby's toy. You have to use your hands?
Even like Apple Pay, like I love Apple Pay. I use it all the time, and like whenever I get a chance. But like, there's still some people that don't even know what that is. But then there's also I recently got into like Venmo and Cash App, and when before it was just PayPal and that was it, kind of thing. But you start getting into these other apps and ways to pay, and then all of a sudden, if you're selling anything online or whatever, like, hey, you got Venmo, and you like have to have these things. But it's just so crazy just how you can transfer money now just instantly.
Yep. And it becomes annoying to actually have to handle cash.
Yeah, and even to the point where Amazon, you can use Venmo on Amazon now.
You know, I remember, it used to be you'd go into a Subway and it would say on the thing, like, hey, you cannot use a $100 bill because we don't have enough cash to change it out. And then you went there and it was like, you can't use higher than a $50 bill because we don't have enough cash to change it out. And then you go to some place and it's like a credit card or touchless payment only.
Yep.
You know, so it's really interesting how that's kind of evolved.
And at the same time, it's like, what am I supposed to do with all these hundos, you know? Dave knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, all those ref gigs. That's all they pay me is.
Stacks on stacks, Dave.
If I don't see Benjamins, I'm not coming back.
I wait till that's even. No, I mean, I've even wrestling wise, like, you know, I remember somebody left early from like a last show, and I Venmo'd them the payday. You know, like it was super simple. You know, it was easy. But yeah, it's just so crazy. Like, what would we do without that stuff now? You know.
Going back would be rough.
Yeah, like
if you try to go off the grid these days, forget about it.
Yeah. Even you know, using like just a basic credit card now, like, you know.
I remember it was a big deal when McDonald's started accepting credit cards.
Yeah. That's so crazy. Now it's like you can use any. They've adopted all the pay formats now. Like, even you don't even have to interact with anybody now. You can just order your stuff and get it, you know, without talking to anyone.
Provide a code on the app.
I use my apps to order pretty much all my food exclusively. Like, I can't remember the last time I talked to somebody to order food at one of those places.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so convenient to just go like, yeah, my name is Dave. Cool. All right, pull up.
Yeah, fun fact. Many, many years ago, Dave set up his Taco Bell app, and he put in my phone number for setting up the app. So to this day, it'll be a random Saturday night at 2:00 in the morning, and I'll get a text message. Hey, Devin, your Taco Bell order is ready. And I'll be like, well, Dave's at Taco Bell.
Yeah. Like, I'll be in Vegas for softball, and, you know, the time change there, like, it's 2 a.m. there. So it's like 4 a.m. here. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, we got to make sure I put my code in. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, don't worry about it. It'll be funny tomorrow.
Dude, so like I go to, I'd say a good handful of times a week, I'll put in in the app for Jimmy John's, you know, and you can just real quickly put your order in, Apple Pay, boom, you're done. And I'll do it where I'll go pick it up, you know, and, because maybe I want to get a coffee or something while I'm out. But like, I'll walk into Jimmy John's, and as I walk in the door, dude, the one lady's like, Andy, boom, here's your stuff. Like, they know, I'm a regular there, you know. So and they got my stuff sitting right there. As I walk in, it's just awesome.
So we go to the AEW show at the whatever center down in Chicago, right? So it's not the United Center. It's the other one where I can't remember the name of it now. It's me and my buddy. It's, you know, kind of a big pay-per-view, or not pay-per-view, but a big show. It's the one before Thanksgiving. There's only 4 stands serving food in the entire arena. And everywhere's got a line that, I kid you not, was at least 50 to 60 people. And I look over in the corner of the one that's nearest our section, right? And buddy's like, yeah, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to grab some food. He's like, okay, I guess you don't want to watch the show. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I look in the corner, and there's a DoorDash symbol. And so I'm like, that's interesting. I've got DoorDash Plus through work or whatever, the premium. So I look in the app, and you can order DoorDash in the stadium and just walk up and tell them your name, and they'll give you the food. Not only that, but the prices were actually $1 cheaper for every single item. So I put in there 2 beers and a popcorn, and they go, it'll be ready in 2 minutes. And I'm looking at the line of 70 people deep. I walk over to the window. I go, David? And they're like, oh, yeah, here you go. And I walk away without waiting whatsoever. I down a beer and put it inside the other cup. And my buddy comes out of the bathroom, and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, I just DoorDashed food from that window over there. He's like, DoorDash? What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, see that symbol there? That's a DoorDash symbol. Like, dude, this is amazing. So throughout the night, we just kept DoorDashing food and walking up, getting it, and walking back, and people were getting pissed.
Have you ever had the opposite happen to you? And what I mean by that is, like, you're using an app, and we have such zero tolerance for things not working right. where like you're going to the final checkout page, something glitches, your cart gets empty, you got to start from the beginning. And, that happens like once or twice. You're like, all right, screw it. Especially like you're ordering pizza. You realize you pick up the phone, call the pizza place, and it's like, yeah, I placed an order to this address. Yeah, this. Yeah, okay, here's my credit card number. All right, thanks. It's like, oh my God, that was actually faster.
Yeah.
So today I went to Chipotle for lunch, and I'm on the way there, and I get the receipt, emailed to me, and it's like, oh, thanks, you're going to pick this up from the Fountain Square Chipotle. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's not the one that's closest to me that I'm heading towards. Like, so when I went to switch something, it switched it to a previous order at a previous location when I went to press it. So I had to in-app cancel the order and replace it. But again, it's a 10-minute drive. I was able to do all that in the car on the way there and get it refunded and everything. It happened today, though.
Safe driving practices with Dave.
We want to get into that, Dev? I think we don't have enough time for that.
Oh, man.
Next time on.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's crazy. It's just so crazy now. Like, yeah, I'll order anything I can online just so I don't have to interact with anyone. The least interaction as possible. I haven't done like food delivery, where they actually like bring it to you, like a DoorDash or something like that. I haven't done that at all. I'm not sure why though. I just haven't done it, but I've had groceries delivered, and I'll tell you what, that is amazing.
The Instacart, or do you use it through DoorDash or Grubhub and those things?
No, dude. So like the closest place to us is just like Walmart, right? But they'll
yeah.
You can put your grocery order in, tell them what time you want them to drop it off, and boom, it's on your doorstep.
Have you done the curbside pickup is awesome too. You just pull up and you pop the trunk and they load it up.
Yeah, only certain ones are doing. It's not at everyone, but that is cool too. Yeah. You just park right into the stall. But I see now, like when I go to the store, more and more of the workers are going through I don't know if it's a phone app that they work off of, but they're fulfilling. They got a cart and they're fulfilling orders.
Yeah, I used to work at Target, and that's what that is. It's like a little phone dedicated to their system that they're pulling SKUs and filling stuff. Yeah. And Devin, the reason that this is all intriguing to Andy is because Andy does not like getting recognized in public. Oh man, he's not a fan of that. People who know his work.
Yeah.
Well, I think in general though, like society, like I remember you go on like I went on the L with my grandpa. We used to go to the Bears games using we go on like the Red Line, and we'd be on the train, and like people my age and our generation, like you get on a train, all the seats are filled, you have to sit next to a random person. You stare straight forward. You go on your phone. I do not want to. I'm imagining this person doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I don't want to interact with you. Don't interact with me. We're just going to go where we need to go and part our ways. But meanwhile, I'll go with my grandpa, and he just sits down. And he was like, "Oh, what are you doing? You're reading. What are you reading? Oh, well, tell me about your life." And like by the end of it, like the person and my grandpa are like talking. Oh, you know this person. I know this person, and it's like. We don't do that anymore. Now we want the minimum social interaction possible.
We treat it like a urinal. It's like face forward. Do not talk to me. Do not comment on anything you see. Like that's what we want.
Yep.
So I went hopped on the train down to Chicago one time for I've done it a few times for a conference, and so I hop on in the morning and I just pick a seat. I don't know any better. I'm just sitting there kind of by myself, and there's legit people pissed because that's their assigned seat that they all sit in every morning. Like in a group of them, people chat, it's like their regular seat. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have no idea. I didn't realize they were assigned.
Yeah. Don't see your name on it.
Yeah. But like people are serious about that. Like, yeah. And I don't want that interaction.
I used to travel to the city all the time for work. And when I moved one train stop further away, which means I got on earlier in the morning. And there was one woman who always sat, like she raced to the seat and to sit up in the very top closest to the exit, because then you're off first and can get to your shuttles and whatever. When I moved to one further away, I got that seat every fucking time. And the look she'd give me every morning, I'm like, do you drive a train station away just to get this one ahead of me? It's like, nah, bitch, I moved to make this happen. I'm not petty. I'm a piece of shit.
Have any of you guys ever had the talker on the plane?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's the worst. Like we're sitting there. Okay, I got a 4-hour flight. I have entertainment options galore. Like I've pre-downloaded some YouTube videos. I have a couple episodes of a show downloaded. We have the in-flight application to watch whatever you want to watch. I have my Nintendo Switch. I'm set. Right?
Yeah,
you sit down. And the person says, "So, where are you going for vacation?" And you're just like, you put on the polite mode and you start talking to them, and you're just like wondering, how long is this conversation going to last before we can just like, yeah, that's cool. Nice. And then you can face forward and do your own thing, and let's not talk again.
The key is this: when you're doing that, when you have the over-the-ear headphones, because that's a must to begin with, you can't take the headphones off and put them around the neck. That's the key. Once you've done that, you've engaged in conversation. What you need to do, which is hard on an audio medium, is you need to pull one back slightly so they know that you're actively just waiting for this to be done with, and you're holding it away. That's what you need to do.
You're sending a signal that this is temporary.
Right. That's what it is. So that's the key to the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been so many flights where, you know how you're always like hoping nobody sits next to you. So you have like that, maybe there's like a 3-seat situation and you and the guy on the other seat are hoping nobody sits in that middle. Dude, I have had so many experiences where nobody sat in that middle that I just expect it now.
There's nothing better than when you hear that cabin door close and you're like, oh, yes.
You make eye contact with that other dude in the row and you're like, yeah, dude, this is it.
Yep, little nod action.
We putting drinks here in this seat or what are we doing?
Well, you can also have the opposite happen where like right before it closes, you see this one frantic person walking on a plane with luggage and they start walking down the aisle. You're like, oh, please, God. Oh, please, God. Not my row. Come on. They sit in a row in front of you. Yes.
Yeah.
In the clear.
So, Andy, you've met both me and Devin. We're not necessarily the slimmest of guys. On the way to Vegas, sat across from each other. So we were both aisle seats, and we sat next to each other playing Mario Golf, Mario Kart, like just all sorts of games like on the way there. Tons of fun. Would love to have that experience again. But on the way back, we decided to sit next to each other. And I'm going to tell you right now, that middle seat's not meant for a man of the hips.
It was a red-eye flight as well, and we were exhausted from the trip. So we're all like partially hungover, completely exhausted, been waiting in the airport for a while. We are ready to go home. And it's going to be a 4-hour flight home. And we sit down in the seat, and within 5 minutes, we are both extremely uncomfortable. Neither of us are gonna be able to get any shut eye. It's going to be like stare forward for 4 hours. You know, it's dark on the plane. Like we're too tired to play stuff or anything, but we're also too uncomfortable to actually get any rest. And it was just like you get off the plane and you felt like you were the genie in Aladdin getting out of the lamp after 10,000 years.
And Devin was the aisle, so like he's trying to like, so he's okay every now and then, but the stewardesses are walking up and down, so he's got to squeeze in every single time, and I've got to squeeze in as the middle. And so I vowed from that day never to sit in the middle seat.
You know what? I had room to my to the aisle side, but yes, you were right. I had to keep dodging people going down the aisle because I was definitely creeping into the aisle space. Because I don't know if you're aware, but there's a little button underneath the aisle arm rest where you can actually lift up the outer armrest. The little secret hack there. Yeah, but the problem is I had negative space when it came to Dave's side. So we're at the point now where like you're leaning slightly for like 4 hours. So like your lower back is like doing much more work on one side than the other. So you're constantly shifting, and then your leg falls asleep. It was just a freaking nightmare the entire time. Never again, Dave. I love you, but no.
Never again. Never again.
Yeah, I did a few years back. I did a flight to Hawaii, and it's like I want to say it's like 10 hours or some shit like that. And it was like the seats are so close together, and like we were jammed in one person, some stranger next to each one of us, and one guy next to me, he's on the aisle. and he had drank so much wine he passed out. And he's
That's
just
one
out.
way to do it.
And there's no like getting up and crawling over that guy. And then on the other side, you're not going anywhere. So I basically sat like forward looking at they had like games on the screen in front of me. And I played for like 10 hours this game called like Monsters and Zombies or some shit like that. And let me tell you, I got pretty good at that game.
Was it a Plants vs. Zombie?
Yeah, Plants vs. Zombies, I think it was, yeah. And I just played it on the little screen in front of me for like 10 hours. And then I remember even playing it on the way back because I was such a pro at it, you know. But
4 hours is my limit.
Yeah.
If after 4 hours, I'm like, get me off this plane. So it's like I want to desperately go to take a trip to like Tokyo or Japan. Like to me, it's like I don't know if I can be on a plane that long. Maybe if I sprung for like the Polaris business class, like bed lounging, you know, I might be able to handle it then. But I can't ride in the coach seats for that long.
Oh yeah,
they
they had like up front, they had a couple of those nice pod seats, you know. And I remember there was like a 10-year-old in one of those, and I was like, oh, that's nice. You know, that's just
yeah, must be nice. Well, so my brother is a pilot, and so they have standby. But when they go on international flights, they can actually upgrade from the regular standby seat to the first class seat, and all they have to do is pay the tax.
Oh, nice.
So it's literally like for a couple $100, they're sitting first class on a flight to Europe, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, you want to give me one of those the buddy passes, sir? I would appreciate that. And he's like, no, one day.
Yeah, that's the way to go. That's the way to go for sure.
My parents get the flight benefit automatically. Like siblings, you only get a limited number of like buddy passes that they can give. So I'm out of luck. I get to watch my dad raise a wine glass and send a picture out. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, let's do him a favor. You know, Devin needs a hot towel. Let's do this.
I can pass. I can pass for my dad. I can just pretend.
I feel like we need to start a GoFundMe for you or something.
First class all the way. The only problem is once I get the first class, then I'll just never be able to fly again regular.
Right.
It for me.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to taste the forbidden fruit.
I watched that Trek Trendy guy.
They're just prunes dipped in chocolate. That's the forbidden fruit.
But that guy, all he does is take like first class flights everywhere, and I just go like, man, God, I don't want to go back to peanuts. Don't make me do it. I want to do what this guy does.
Well, yeah, there's I forget the YouTube channel, but there's like a guy on YouTube who literally just does that and then document. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it documents how sick it is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's my like personal shower. I'm like, on like sick ass train rides too. Like, it's like, oh, come on, man, this is awesome.
I've seen some of those, yeah, where they have like a couple rooms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the shower, yeah, that's crazy too. Oh my god. Yeah, dude, I don't know, man. I haven't flown since before COVID. I haven't had to go anywhere.
You should come to Vegas with us end of the month.
Yeah, me and Dave are flying out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Vegas might. I used to go to Vegas like twice a year, but yeah, I wouldn't. I do have to go back.
This will be Dave's second time in Vegas in the last 2 months.
Yeah, nice.
I'm a regular Vegas person. The plane tickets down and back through O'Hare through Southwest, $160 round trip.
Oh, nice.
Right now, if you're trying to buy them.
Okay.
Comes with negative leg room.
Yeah. No luggage will arrive on time. But,
Didn't you recently have a piece of luggage that was misplaced, Dave? Was that you?
It was a day. Yeah, it was a day delayed. They sent it from Vegas to Nashville, but then they dropped it off at my door. Like I didn't have to go.
Oh, that's nice.
It was the next day, but I was still like pissed.
Dude, yeah.
Did you just wait at the carousel for it for like 30 minutes? Or like, what the hell?
Well, one that looked like mine, I thought someone took, and I'm like,
switched it. Oh, that's even worse.
Mother effer.
Yeah.
I've only had my luggage lost one time, and it's when we went to we stopped in Puerto Rico, and we were going to the Virgin Islands, and so like you get on a little plane to go there, and to went to St. Thomas, and of course our luggage didn't make it with, and basically we were in St. Thomas for like 2 days without luggage, and we were like, I remember one day. Or it's like, oh, let's go to I guess we don't have much to do. Let's go to the beach. Like we weren't really dressed for beach. So we had to get clothes at the gift shop or whatever, whatever they got. And so we go to the beach and I'm like, oh man, like my sunscreen was in the bag, And then I remember they had a little shop on the beach and they saw me coming a mile away. I feel like they just switched the price of sunscreen to like $60 on purpose just because they saw me coming.
Oh, they saw the sun hit off of you and they had to cover their eyes.
All right, yeah, we got this. We got this. Get that $60 bottle out.
Well, it's like when you're at Disney World and it starts raining and all of a sudden ponchos go up by 300%.
Yeah. But that's the only like one time that I've ever had my bags lost. Otherwise, I've had pretty good luck. But I
rarely check a bag.
Yeah, I'll check a bag, but every time I go to Vegas, like I would check a bag. But I'm usually like so early that like there's no way that they could, lose that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they lose your bag if you're running late or something. Maybe it doesn't make it to your plane, but
same. Yeah, I'm one of those like 2 hour get there ahead of time,
hang out,
get some food. Hang out for a bit. That's the kind of person I am. Like, I love getting there super early.
Have any of you guys been the carry-on guy where, like, you're going on to the plane and then the person taps you on the shoulder and is like, can you leave your bag here? All the carry-on space is full. We'll check it for you.
The opposite.
Oh, yeah.
The opposite, almost. I've taken bags to there, and when they say, like, hey, it's a full flight, does anybody want to check their stuff? I'm like, abso-effing-lutely. Because to me, the longest part of the flight is getting off and trying to find your crap up there and, like, getting it down. I want to get the hell off of there as quickly as possible.
There are two dances you have to do when you travel. The first dance is the security dance.
Right.
You have all your stuff going through. You got to take out all your laptops. You got to take off your shoes and your belt and everything. You get to the end of it. You're rapidly putting it back on, making sure everything's put away. Did I miss anything? Did I get everything out of the bins? And at the same time, you're like, okay, I only have like a 10-second window here before the person behind me starts doing their dance. And then I'm the person who's like taking time. And then finally you get out of there and you roll to your gate and everything's calm. Then you arrive at your destination on a flight. And then the second dance is when you're like eagerly waiting with your leg tapping for the person in front of you to go to their bin. And then you get up, make sure you don't smack your head on the above you when you stand up, get your luggage out of there and then get moving and try not to hit your luggage against the seats as you walk down the aisle. Yep. Fun times.
Oh, dude, I love the security checks. Like one time I went through and they were like, why do you have so many battery packs? And I'm like, one, because I'm nervous and I'm going to a conference and you know how hard it is to find an outlet, to plug in at a conference.
Real quick, don't get on a plane and tell them you're nervous and that's why you have so much, so many battery packs. But yeah, go on.
Well, no, dude, you gotta have power. You gotta have juice, man. Like, charge your phone or your, whatever, you don't want to run out. So like if you're at a conference and you're in Vegas and you're far away from your hotel, you got to have some battery packs on you,
Oh yeah.
There was like this like 8-year-old like behind me in security checkpoint. And I guess he had his Nintendo Switch in his bag and he didn't take it out. And like the TSA lady like grabs the bag, opens it up, and it starts telling like, young man, you have to take this out. Like starts like chewing him out. The kid doesn't know what's going on. Like the dad is like, are you serious right now? It's like a kid, like the bear, like the bag is like, it has like teddy bears on it and shit. So like this kid, now she's like, well, because you did this, I have to take it away from you. Right now, she didn't mention she was going to take it away, look through it manually, and rerun it through the scanner. So that the kid starts freaking out.
Oh my god!
And the dad's like trying to explain to the kid that no, it's fine. And finally, it goes through again, and he gets it back. But it was like, oh my god! Like, I get it. You're a TSA employee. Like, your days must suck, But like, this isn't an 8-year-old kid. Like, come on now. I'm sorry he didn't take his Switch out of the bag. And meanwhile, most of the time, if you don't take your Switch out of the bag, they don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
like we had a very similar experience when we went through the check line. I got to the end and my backpack had shifted off into the other area, and I'm like, oh no, what's in my bag that they're gonna freak out about? And the dude opens up my bag and there's a tall Coors can right there, and he just like has it in his hand and looks at me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I can't have that, can I? And he's like, no. He throws it out and hands me my bag, and it was like, oh, that's my
you forgot to take that out. Yeah,
right. Oh yeah, completely forgot. I was like, oh, I didn't even know I had that in there.
Yeah, they have the same hang up about like camera batteries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like any kind of because I've traveled with like camera equipment before, audio equipment. But one time there's this old guy in front of me, like really old dude. I mean, it must have been like 80s maybe. And I want to say he was in a wheelchair too at the time. And they're going through his bag, and he's like right in front of me. And this lady, TSA lady, pulls out like a machete. Like straight up machete. And she's like, sir, like you can't have this in the area. Like you can't bring this with you. And he goes, oh, it's no big deal. Just throw it away. Like, what was the intent? Like, why did you bring that for one? And why did you think you could? And then to just be nonchalant about, I mean, just throw it away. It's cool.
Dave, was it the Vegas airport that like while we were waiting in line in security, they had like a wall of like pictures of like all the stuff that they've like found in bags?
Yeah, it was like catching your biggest perp. Like that was like the wall that they had
the wall of fame.
Yeah.
Jesus,
that's so crazy. Yeah,
that's nuts.
But
man, we really ran through the gambit here. You know, we'd be talking about video games, technology. We end up telling travel stories and how. I mean, we're just one little jaunt away from what's the deal with airline food? You know.
But this is you know what's funny is when we started doing the podcast again. You know, when I pushed Andy, you know, every day to like record stuff. Nothing changed in what we did. All we did is hit the record button. Like this is the shit that we do like every other day. Like we were just chatting like this and just having fun conversations.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You just gotta create. Yeah, less thinking, more recording.
Oh yeah, I remember one of the first I think conversations I had with Dave was about how YouTube through the phone app was going to allow you to stream from the app. You know. And I just remember that was one of our first like tech conversations that we even had, and eventually like they made that happen. But we waited a little while.
Yeah, we were holding our breath. But Andy, just like I pushed you with all that, I to this day shove Devin every chance I get for him to make music. I tell him, when are we making music? Let's make music. Let's do music. And
True.
It's one of those things I just love watching people be creative.
I got 12 songs done. I got 4 more to go. I like to release them in 16-song album chunks. So,
nice,
almost there.
Nice. And what? And that's gonna go straight to like Spotify.
Yep, it'll be on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal,
nice,
wherever music is sold or streamed.
Mr. Beast videos, you'll see him in the background on TikTok.
That's true. That was a fun discovery. Mr. Beast had a video called like it was a TikTok called like doing things that annoy people, and it was like knocking over a stack of iPhones, like leaving the toothbrush face up like by a toilet, like stuff like that, whatever. And he used my version of Ocarina of Time, Kokiri Forest track in the background. So it was like the TikTok got like millions of likes, and it just like says at the bottom, it's like by Devin Taylor. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat.
Oh, nice.
Hey, of course, TikTok doesn't pay you based on views.
Yeah.
They pay you based on number of videos created. So it doesn't matter if you have a person who creates a video with your song that gets 1 view or 10 million. You're going to get paid the same. Peanuts.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool, though. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely put links to your stuff in the show notes and on the blog post for sure, so people can find you out there.
Yeah, very much appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for dropping in with us. I'll look forward to seeing more stuff. I think last time I saw you guys, well, it was Dave on there playing. Was it like some custom Mario Maker or something on Twitch?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Dave, we never should have steered away from that, Dave. We had a good thing going.
It
was tough though. Yeah, we were streaming twice a week.
Yeah.
And then I think the hilarious thing is we had the most viewers. One day we start streaming, and as we're streaming, the Mario Maker servers go down. They're doing routine maintenance, and we're like, great. So now we're all set up. We're ready to go. Like, what are we gonna do? So we pivot. We're like, we want to do like Clubhouse games. So like, okay, so Clubhouse games, if you're not familiar, is basically a set of like 40 like tabletop games, like blackjack, Yahtzee, all that type of stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we fire that up and we start playing Yahtzee, although because of copyright, it's called Yacht. Yacht dice. So we start playing Yacht dice, and all of a sudden we have like 55 people like watching us. And I'm like, why are there 55 people watching us play Yahtzee? It's skyrocketed. It got to the point where the Mario Maker servers came back on. We're like, we should just keep playing Clubhouse games for a bit. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We would play viewer levels and get frustrated, and we would kind of get this like routine down where you would try like 5 times or 10 times, and we'd switch the controller to the other person. Yeah. We had a graphic that let us know which player was currently using the controller, and people could use their channel points to like either force us to switch the controller to the other person or to skip the level if they were playing it for too long. And I think we had like a 10-minute. We had a whole system. We would switch it to another level. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Good times.
Yeah, it's amazing what people watch now. Like, just watch people play games and different things, and just have that interaction.
Right.
Yeah, but I think it's really cool about the long format, like how podcasts have really taken off.
That's true.
People need something to listen to while they work.
Like, I like to listen to my former boss's podcast whenever I get the chance. Just listen to their ramblings every now and then, especially when they're behind paywalls. I love to pay to listen to my former.
But no, I've actually had people tell me that, oh, hey, you really helped us get through our work day. Our work day sucked, but we put your podcast on, and we enjoyed that stuff. So it's kind of cool once you get feedback like that. And, it makes
especially you have different guests. Yeah, different guests. They bring different perspectives. And I'm happy to come back on at some point. I mean, we didn't even touch on AI or any type of
for
lots of more stuff to talk about with AV equipment as well. So there's plenty of stuff left in the tank.
Oh yeah, dude, we'd love to have you back for sure. I love talking tech, so that's my thing.